Конечно, Вика. Сейчас вкратце мы уже готовы перейти к нашей активности. Я хотела представить вам нашего презентатора, господина Кристофа Кого. Господин Кого, доктор Кого, он является старшим специалистом по вопросам образования на сегодняшний день в Центральной Азии. С 2014-2019 года он занимал должность директора-основателя Центра исследований в фонде Сейбола в Уругвае, возглавляя инициативу по изучению одного из самых знаменитых в мире примеров использования образовательных технологий в масштабе всей системы образования плана Сейбола. Рисовал также являлся младшим сотрудником Оксфордского института интернета. До этого он также являлся профессором, директором по коммуникации в Американском институте социальных наук в Мексике. Он является известным спикером, выступал в разных странах мира. Также он являлся консультантом в Латинской Америке, в частности, в Мексике, Чили, Эквадоре, Перу и Аргентине. Он также опубликовал около 80 научных статей. Его последняя публикация посвящена, называется «Я принимаю положение в условиях. Использование и злоупотребление цифровых технологий» в 2019 году. Для того, чтобы вы понимали всю экспертизу, которую мы сегодня готовы поделиться с вами. Спасибо вам большое, дорогие участники нашей панельной дискуссии. И, соответственно, по окончании семинара мы вернемся к вам с нашими рекомендациями и передаем слово Кристофу для дальнейших активностей. Спасибо большое.
Wonderful. Thank you very much for the welcome words. And thank you to all of you for assigning the time to learn. We want to learn together. We want to learn about AI. What is AI? Why everybody is talking about that? What is the value of it in education? Can I use this person as well? Yes. So my platform this morning is to share with you some of the most transformative technologies that today exist, that when we reflect together how these can be integrated into education. And also, part of the presentation will focus on what actions should be considered to develop capacities among educators, to be ready to use these technologies, to be ready to identify what pedagogical adaptations we can make out of that, but also, as it was presented a moment ago, what are the elements that we can see as an opportunity, as well as some challenges, because there are some challenges along the way. And so before the start, I want to ask if you can raise your hand, if you can use, or you have used ever any AI technology. Could you raise your hand? Okay, so I see like 2/3, that's fantastic. So if you have not, don't worry, today you will get an expert. You will be an expert on this at the end of the workshop. That's a little bit of the goal. So let's get into the topic. AI is an imperfect term because it's an umbrella concept and entails so many different technologies. It's a multi-purpose technology, just like the electricity or the agriculture. And the more we use it, the more invisible it will become, like the Wi-Fi. Now, within AI, we have generative artificial intelligence, which is the capacity of the machines to create images, videos, voice, text, movies, sound, with a proficiency that mimic human intelligence. So, as you can see in this diagram, you transition from complex text into a simplified text. You can transition from voice into text, or from voice into video, right? So that's an empowering capacity, but at the same time, we work in knowledge. So it's not only to having the output, but it's to ensuring the quality of the output is useful and relevant for our communities. But the more we use it, the more ubiquitous it becomes and the more transformative, in the sense that it's hard even for an expert eye to understand when a piece of content has been created by AI. So in education, we can use it for so many potential uses. We can use it for providing support to our students. We can use it to adapt and create new learning resources.
We can use it to provide feedback, even to provide draft of assignments or draft of inputs for the students' text. We can use it for processing data. We can use it for creating content. There's so many possibilities behind when we have the basic skills. But at the same time, it's important to have in mind, in the radar, some of the trade-off. AI is about using data. So depending on the quality of the data will be the quality of the output. If this AI is trained with some data, it's likely that we will overrepresent some realities, and if it lacks some data, we will underrepresent. So that can generate biases. Or the quality of the data might be variable depending on how reliable it is. So it's very important that an expert eye has the possibility of assessing the value of that. In education, what we have observed in the last 2 years is there is an increasing adoption of AI solutions, and one of the risks that the evidence is rising today is users, they tend to over-rely on this technology. Over-rely means that when we trust without checking, and this is something that should be a matter of concern. Now, when we think in AI at the education level, I believe we should borrow ideas from this nature framework. This nature framework tells us that we should unpack between the needs, the challenges, and the opportunities. These three elements should go all together. What are the needs, the educational needs we have? What are the challenges we want to achieve? And what are the opportunities? Right? Having that in clear, we can also separate how that will impact students, how will impact teachers, and how will impact decision makers. For these three communities, we will have to design different strategies, and we will reflect some of that. So it's not the same AI for everybody under whatever context or circumstance. So we have many tools and technologies. I will share with you some of these technologies. Some of them look honestly amazing, if not magic. But the most common ones today are ChatGPT. I'm sure many of you have been using ChatGPT or exploring about that, or Claude, which is another AI tool that is very proficient for writing, or Gemini, or Copilot. So different companies have different technologies, and what I want to underscore here is different technologies will have different strengths and different weaknesses. They are not all the same. And if we understand the strength of each one of them, we can select depending on the kind of use, the kind of technology we want. How can we use those technologies? Well, we can use it for many things, as we said. We can use it to provide enriched feedback. We can use it to become a mentor or a tutor for the students, but also we see today research that AI can be a tutor for teachers. We can use it for translation of contents. We can use it for automating some routinary tasks. How many hours we spend in the week doing work that is routinary, that is repetitive. And in some cases, we can use some of this technology to release some time. So the literature today is telling us that there are two big trends that I think is important to have in the radar. These technologies can be used to automate some tasks, right? So we can save time automating repetitive tasks, but also we can, and this is much more interesting, we can augment capacities. We can use AI to do things that we were not able to do without this technology. Usually, when we integrate these sort of technologies, these two streams will come, but certainly thinking in the challenges of today and the challenges of tomorrow, it's going to be much more interesting to put emphasis in the augmentation of capacities, not only in the automation. So with all these caveats, I think now we can get into some of the real AI tools, and then, as I said, we are going to move into the system level analysis. So let me share some tools that I recommend to you to keep record, because I will ask you questions later, so you can take pictures or you can memorize them. So the first tool is Gamma. Gamma is a very user-friendly tool that will help you to make PowerPoint presentations very easy. You give it a little bit of an input, also known as a prompt, and you describe what is the context, and it will give you a very good first draft that then you have to polish, you have to clarify, you have to adjust. But it's a very time saver, a very good time saver that you can export again to documents, to PowerPoints, but also you can create a website. So you can create a website for your students with all the resources that you want to share. The website contains more information than a PowerPoint, right? But all these potential outputs can be easily automated. So Gamma is a tool that I recommend for teachers and for people seeking in education that can be very useful. I'm going to move to the next one. So I hope you could keep a good record of those. We mentioned Claude. Claude is similar to ChatGPT. Claude writes very, very well. Many of these tools are freemium, meaning that you can use them for free, and if you want to have the full features, you will have to pay a fee. But Claude is interesting because it will allow you to upload so many documents in the chat, and you can ask questions about those documents you upload. So that's incredibly useful when we want to analyze several documents for our class, or if we are giving a training, we can read and we can write throughout these different documents. And as you see here, you can ask it to give you concise or more detailed, more formal or informal outputs. So Claude is a really, really good tool that we can use in education. Should we move to the next one? This tool is very helpful for education as well. This is called Notebook LM. It's really, really powerful. And it allows you to do three things. Number one, you can upload several files in the number one. You can upload documents, you can upload videos, you can upload websites, you can upload podcasts. And you can create a little bit of a dashboard with all these materials. In number two, you can ask questions about these files that you have uploaded, right? Thinking if you're a history teacher, you can upload the resources in number one. In number two, you can ask questions. And in number three, and I'm going to show you that in a minute, you can get podcast audios of the analysis of those resources. Not only reading the resources, but much more interesting, a discussion of two people and reflecting on those resources. So obviously this can be an enhanced tool for diversifying how we can access information, right? So let's move to the next one. This is the same one, just in an animated version. You upload the files, you can ask questions, and you can export, and you can continuously feed. You can have up to 50 documents per each one of these folders. So think about that as an online desktop that can help and enhance our work and also collaborative work. I'm going to move to the next one because I have a few others to show you. This is another tool from Google that for me is simply very, very interesting, that allows you, if you allow, it will see your computer and it will give you feedback of the things or the tasks you want to do. I'm going to show a little demo so you can have a look at how this agent can see, can talk, and can give you inputs and help.
Wouldn't it be amazing if you can have an expert to guide you through learning any new software? Well, now you can, and it's completely free. Go to this website and click Stream Real Time, and at the bottom, turn on your mic and share your screen. I'm in Microsoft Excel now. Can you see my spreadsheet?
Yes, I can see your spreadsheet. It looks like it has columns for date, unit sold, product, and location. What do you need help with in Excel?
Yeah, so I have the product and location in one column, but I would prefer to have two separate columns. How do I do that?
Okay, you want to separate the product and location data into two different columns. To do this, you can use the text to columns.
Okay, so you see, right? The software will give you inputs. If you land into a new website, you want to give instructions. I was joking with a friend, now it's much easier to pay taxes because you can get this little help, right? So you can explore that at home later. Now, I'm going to give you another quick demo that I hope can be useful for education. This is going to be a demo with a little bit of music. So what you see in the screen is a very normal, random qualifications report from any class. This is English as a second language, and as you can see, we have divided here by skills: reading, writing, fluency, etc. Okay, so I'm going to upload this normal report into GPT, and I want to show you what we can do with it. Okay, let's see if the experiment works. Okay, let's go. GPT, the one that you know, right? So the first thing is we simply upload the file into into the GPT, and I have some prompts here. The first thing is I will ask to help me to understand what are the trends of this report. So we'll unpack what are the higher performers, the lower performance, what are the students that might require more help, what are some of the key insights. The second prompt will tell us how can we cluster the performance of the students. So based on the skills that you already saw, we can unpack what is the performance of each one of the students in each one of these skills, right? So this will give us a very high detailed spreadsheet on information that we can certainly download, export, or use for any kind of presentation. Now, but I felt that this was too dry. Maybe we can give some visualization to that. So my following prompt is, give me some of the average student performance by skills, by organized per quarter, right? So we have an overtime analysis of the same information in a manner that we can see over time. Here you see the progression of the students, right? Obviously, these charts, you can download them or you can use it in the presentation. And I also asked, why don't you give me the same information, but with a rather chart? Sometimes we use different bars and it's gonna be easier to present some trends in a way that we can better explain data, right? So you use a chart and you ask to visualize it in a rather chart, and again, you have another way of using GPT to present the information in a different form. Now, I think that wasn't enough, so I asked it to export it to another language, which is called mark-map language. It's a language that computers use, it's similar to HTML, and it will allow us to have a much more interactive way of using this data. So you simply ask to export into mark-map, and then you copy and paste it in a mark-map reader. There are many online for free, right? So the mark-map is a language that, again, that the computers understand. Oh, this is a heat map, sorry, I jumped over myself. This is a heat map, it's the same information with blue, the high performance, red, the low performance. And now, yes, now is the mark map. So you will export all the data that I already shared with you in this language that is similar to HTML. You select the text and you copy in a mark map reader. So look at the right hand side. You will see all the information displayed in a mind map. You can collapse, you can expand, and you can have conversations about the data. So these are the sort of things that we can do with GPT, with simple commands, with simple prompts that we can repeat, but we can take it from the spreadsheet and to do much more meaningful messages. So I hope you can do some of these things at home. Another tool that I would strongly recommend you is deep research. Deep research is a feature from many of these AI tools that can help us to do deep analysis. So deep research can do like an expert would take between 3 and 5 days. It can do it in 30 minutes. So I'm gonna show you now a demo. So deep research will be an opportunity for asking queries, and then we get this report and GPT will send you an email saying, I'm ready with the report, here you have it. Again, always we have to double check the sources. And another tool that I will recommend is Perplexity. Perplexity is a tool in which you can ask the same questions, but the value of Perplexity for educators is you will always be able to double check the sources used. So you can corroborate if you're happy with the output or not. If you're not happy with the output, you are in control, right? So the big message here is we should be in a position to select and prioritize. But this tool also has deep research, so you can ask these more analytic reports that I think can be of help. So here we have another tool from Google, which is the equivalent to GPT, the equivalent to Perplexity, the equivalent of Claude, which is called Gemini. Gemini also have deep research. So I will see if Chagnosa will help me to do some links here. Are you there? I'm going to show you a little bit of a deck. So can you open that link? Let's see if it works. So this is a link of an academic journal. Okay, let's see if we can see the website. If not, doesn't matter. No, we are not going to see the website. Doesn't matter. So this is an academic journal on AI and education. It's a journal that has been published for a number of years. There we are. So it's coming a little bit in the second screen, thank you. I just want to see the website for colleagues to know. So it's a journal, as many, that has plenty of information about AI, right? Plenty of peer-reviewed papers. That's nothing, that's enough, that's perfect. So let's get back to the orange, please, the screen. So what I want to show you now, yes, we'll remove the browser. Let's get back to the browser. I won't ask you to do it again. I'm sorry, I didn't want to put you on the spot. Okay, that's great. Now you can collapse. You click the green on the top left. So this is a journal. And what I'm going to do now, when we get back to the orange, is I will ask deep research to do an analysis of all these papers, right? Yes, you can get it. Get out of it, please, so we can move to the demo. So I take the journal, I take the link, and I go to deep research. It's just struggling with the exercise. It's my fault. I didn't. Okay, so what I did is I asked this instruction to the deep research. I said, give me the information about this journal, the main findings about AI, the main results, the main opportunities, but also the challenges, and unpack the messages for students, for teachers, for administrators. Don't give me unified truths, give me the details because I want to understand. And it will give me a full report in that link. If you can open the link, that's fine. If there's a problem, we'll carry on. That's totally okay. So it will give me 15 pages of an analysis of the papers published from 2022. It's really, really helpful. You can access with the QR code that information. And then what I'm going to do, and I think this is really important, I will export this information in other multimodal formats. And I think this is very, very useful because when we combine different AI tools, we can get something much more interesting. So let me show you what I did when I upload the output of this deep research report into an avatar. So I ask an avatar to talk to another avatar in Russian. How many of you speak Russian here? Okay, few. So you can help me if the language is reliable. So they will discuss about this report. Okay, let's have a look.
Ну, смотрите, генеративный трансформирует образование. Он не просто помогает создавать материалы, он вообще меняет правила жизни. А что ты думаешь о том, как он помогает учителям создавать персонализированный контент?
So these ladies don't exist. These ladies are just avatars. They have been trained with the information that we provide from deep research. So I want you to reflect how this can be used in education. How can we expand our role using these kind of tools? Okay, so I did another experiment. I decided to involve a human in this discussion. I tried to find a volunteer. I couldn't find anyone, so I used myself as a volunteer. So I export this in a human-to-avatar discussion. Let's see if it works. Okay, let's give it a try. This is a call via Zoom with the avatar. Hey, how are you?
Can you still see and hear me?
Yes, I can.
I'm doing well, thank you.
I can. I'm very good, thank you. I wanted to ask, how do you think I could use this avatar technology to integrate it into education? Do you have any input, any insight that I could learn from?
I'm glad to hear you're doing well. Here are a few ways you can integrate avatar technology into education. 1. Interactive lessons. You can use avatars to create interactive video lessons where the avatar presents the material in a more engaging way. This can help capture students' attention and make learning more enjoyable. 2. Personalized learning. By using avatars, you can create personalized education videos tailored to individual student learning styles and needs. For instance, an avatar could deliver customized feedback or explanations based on a student's performance. 3. Language learning. Avatars can be particularly effective in language education. They can demonstrate pronunciation, engage in conversational practice, and provide immersive language experiences, making learning more relatable and fun.
That is great. That is if a student gets lost or wants to have a clarification, wouldn't you be able to provide a much more personalized hands-on support?
Absolutely. Avatar technology can be designed to provide more personalized support for students who need clarity.
Okay, I think you get the idea, right? You can have a conversation.
One.
It's not a conversation like a human, but it's a conversation that is decent, right? And the more this technology evolves, the more natural will be the conversation. Let me show you now the final demo on this, which is, again, I tried to find a volunteer to help me on this experiment. I couldn't find anyone, so I exposed myself. So I'm gonna be sacrificed to talk with an avatar, but not in my language. Let's see how it works, okay?
Добро пожаловать в наш подкаст. Сегодня мы погружаемся в тему генеративного ИИ в образовании, его быстрое развитие, как ChatGPT и подобные инструменты переопределяют подходы к обучению.
Точно. Слушай, а что, в чем суть этих исследований? Они, как я понимаю, затрагивают и возможности, и риски.
Да, в общем, исследования показывают, что генеративный ИИ, его как раз становится инструментом для дополнения работы преподавателей. Типа, он помогает авторам создавать персонализированные учебные материалы, генерировать задания, но важно понимать, что это дополнение, а не замена.
Интересно, значит, роль учителя, по сути, смещается от передачи знаний к роли наставника.
Just for the record, I don't speak Russian, so this is the technology that can help us to move into a multi-language. Okay, I have a few other tools to show it to you. This one is an example of a multi-purpose technology that we can use for education. It's called Magic School. I don't think I will have time to show the video, but it basically will allow teachers to upload the national curriculum, to prepare a lesson plan aligned to the national curriculum, to adapt to the lesson to the students' need, design with you learning activities, to design an assignment, to design an activity. If you are a teacher that is not very good giving jokes, this will suggest you some jokes. If you're a student who has students with special needs, they will give you some input. So you can really customize the experience based on the context and need. So I will provide this access to this presentation so you can see later the demo that I provide.
Are you a teacher?
Another tool that is being used in the classroom, maybe more for students, but I guess it's interesting to have in the radar, is called Study Fetch. Study Fetch is a tool that students have in their laptop, and when the teacher is giving the lecture, the software starts recording the voice of the teacher and transcribe the voice into text. When the text is in the computer of the student, the text can be translated into study notes or can be translated into a chatbot. So you can literally chat with your teacher after the class with all the contents that have been there in place. So we will have to make the classes very attractive to be more attractive than a chatbot, but that's a joke. Okay, now, someone asked me to bring AI on assessment. So I brought this one that is very simple, but to some of you, it could save time. So when you have a multiple choice assignment or test, and you will have this chart with the results, there is this tool, ZipGrade, that you take the picture, you scan the results, and the results will go directly to the platform. So the students get immediately updated on what was the result. Unlike the fact that the student had to revise by hand one by one and then from the paper to bring into the computer. So this is a really time saver for assessment. So as you have seen, there are a lot of tools, and here we have even more, so you can explore them in this QR code, many of the tools that are in this field. So we won't have time to explore all these hundreds of tools, but I want you to save this link so you can explore it in your community with your colleagues and to decide what of these can be helpful in classes. So we will see here, based on what I have shared, that we have tools that can really enhance the role of teachers to make learning materials, to make the feedback, to get some tutoring, to have contextualized assessment. So many tools that can benefit the role of the teacher. But also the students. The students can get a tutor or a remote coach that can give inputs or can help you to practice for an exam or can give you real-time support when you have a question. If you're studying after hours and you need an input, this is going to be very, very helpful. And the evidence is showing us that this really adds value to the learning experience of the students. Now, if you're an administrator, or a principal, or a manager, this also can be a time saver because we can get analytics with some of inputs of the trends as we saw. We can illustrate the results of the matrix or the analytics in a way that we can tell stories, we can reach out to our communities. We can provide tools with more levels of accessibility for students with special needs. We can translate things that in the past were too expensive to translate. So there are a number of opportunities behind. Now, I wanted to stop 1 second here because I believe this is not only about educational contents. The more we use these technologies, the more integrated are in our life, the more people are using. Look at the evolution between 2024 to 2025. This is according to the Harvard Business Review. People are using this technology also to ask personal questions, to ask emotional questions, very sensitive ones. How can I organize my life? Or how can I find purpose? I would never expect that you ask these questions to a bot, but this is happening today. So I think it's really important we as professionals provide guidance to students to know when they can trust these technologies and when they should not trust it. But this is happening anyway. It's part of the context. In the US, they have, for instance, adopted this tool, which is called Sonar, and they have used Sonar as social-emotional support. So when students is under distress, he or she goes to this app and asks for help. And if the software identifies that there might be a student under serious risk, obviously it connects it with a professional. But otherwise, it will give some guidance and some support that I believe is something that is worth to explore, but is becoming more and more an emotional tool as well, not only a cognitive one. Now, what can we learn from the evidence today? The evidence is still preliminary. We still don't see large-scale implementations for years and years to have robust evidence, but there are a few things that already are coming out of the trends. One is users tend to over-rely on these systems. It's just like when you're using a driverless car. After a couple of minutes, your brain stops checking if the driverless car is stopping in the red light or turning properly. Something similar happened here. We end up relying on these tools. And this is something that it could be risky. It could be risky because it's good to get this help, but we should not trust this help. We always have to double check. Here on the right-hand side, you will find some meta-analysis that is showing us interesting things. It's improving the performance in high-order thinking skills, but at the same time, in many cases, it's reducing the mental effort. Right? So we use this as a prosthetic. And that is something that I think we have to be careful because there are opportunities, but at the same time, we cannot trust these technologies blindly. So my suggestion is when we think in the integration of this into education, we have to make some dimensions to move away from this cloud into something more actionable. So look at the vertical diagram. We are kind of unpack between high and low cognitive tasks. There are some tasks that will require a lot of thinking and some others that we can do automatically. And the same with AI. We can have low AI contribution and high AI contribution. If you have low AI contribution and low cognitive tasks, you will have an error. If you have low cognitive contribution but high AI contribution, we have a problem because the machine is thinking on our behalf, and then we have problems of integrity. Right? The interesting part is on the top. Let me do a zoom of the top section. So you can have low or high cognitive AI contribution, but always high cognitive contribution, reflecting deeply. So in the left-hand side, you can use these tools for automatic stuff or simplified stuff like formatting, brainstorming, or translate. Very useful, but not transformative. Now, in the right-hand side, I think it's a more interesting area where we can think in very concrete learning activities, where the student can use these tools to expand their knowledge, to double check, to remix, to extrapolate, to criticize, right? high cognitive contribution and high cognitive AI contribution. This is more the Socratic part, which I think is the main promise. But not everything is gold. Sometimes these systems offer low quality information. So there are a few things that we have to keep in the radar. Number one, we should not trust these things. Never. We have to always check, right? We have to use them wisely. Understand that this technology is not perfect, and we have to be cautious of the outputs it provides. It's easy to be said, but it's something that we have to remind ourselves. Fact check all the time the information that is giving us. These systems can have biases, particularly when it's used in non-English centered communities. These systems can give us low quality sources or can invent even bibliography. So we have to always check that. And finally, we have to protect our data. Because if we put personal data into these systems, we will be training the AI with our information and we don't know where it's going to go. Okay? So my invitation for teachers, for administrators, for decision makers is, let's discuss together how can we build an AI literacy. It's not the same than digital skills, because it's fluency in terms of how to use these technologies. And I think we can separate it in three levels. One is understanding what is AI, how does it work? Understand that AI is not designed to tell the truth. It's designed to build patterns and to provide a more probabilistic response. Number two, learning how to use these tools. And I hope we will have some time to discuss a little bit about that, which is, of all these tools that we have seen this morning, which one is relevant for you? Which one can be adapted or can benefit your work? And number three, being able to evaluate the quality, the reliability of these outputs. We have to keep into account that these systems are context blind. They don't understand the context, and we understand the context. So always this contextual translation is really, really critical. These three skills go all together, are part of the AI literacy that I believe we have to build among our communities. So in terms of next steps, of course we have to think how to provide training, but the training should be supported by a policy that provides some guidance. What is good to use, and in what context, for what age, and how to use it. When we have these two elements, we can explain very concretely what does it mean a responsible use, depending on the age, depending on the context. And then evaluation, how we are going to prepare the students, the teachers, the professionals in general, to evaluate the outputs of these systems. Because as we have seen today, some of them are really they look really real, right? So, before closing, I think it's fair to say that we have observed a number of opportunities and a number of challenges. The list is very long because there are many, many opportunities, but as we see the opportunities, we have to be mindful of the challenges. I wish we could only keep the green column, but we have to cap the red one on the eye as well. My invitation here is to do two things. One is, out of all these transformations that are coming, and new more will come in the days and months to come, we'll have to build coherence. That means not everything is useful for everything. We'll have to select what is relevant, right? Sense making is something that machines today cannot do, luckily, so far. I don't know tomorrow. And the second thing is common sense. Common sense is a real powerful tool that can help us to do judgment on when and how to use and benefit out of this technology. So let me close with 5 messages that in a way summarize what I have presented, and we are going to have now time for a Q&A. Number 1, I think it's really important to ensure that there's governance and guidance for the education community to be sure to navigate this in a safe manner, right? Obviously, governance is something that will evolve as these technologies evolve, but trust me, all the education systems are in this process of making sense of all these disruptions. Number 2, it's really important to develop a plan of how to consolidate AI literacy among our communities. At all levels, even parents. Not only at the level of the user, because that's not enough. It has to be at the level of a critical thinker, a person that can reflect on the outputs, right? I think the critical thinking is even more relevant than the technical skills, because these technologies will continue to evolve. Number 3, How can we make this technology a tool that opens opportunities but not exclude the most fragile? So that will mean an inclusive architecture, an inclusive technology in terms of access, but also in terms of quality of the data, and provide the needed safeguards that are really important to have in place. And finally, I think it's important to have a clear picture of the dilemmas that these tools offer. We are not ready to understand all the dimensions. This technology is evolving incredibly fast, but we have to get capacities here to understand what are the challenges behind, who can be left behind, who can be more fragile of these technologies. And I believe with this image, we can close. Civilizations advance by increasing the number of operations which we can perform without thinking about them. So I think time is up, and we can now open for questions. But to make it easier, I have a question for you, or 3 questions actually. So we can start with this, but if you have another question, certainly we can circulate the microphone. The 3 questions you can see on the screen, I'm not going to read them, but I think there are many questions, and I believe it's okay if we need today's workshop with more questions and answers, because it's okay. It's a frontier technology, so we are in a process of permanent transformation.
Okay. So maybe colleagues will catch up later. When you say AI in education is relevant or not, I think even the question is not relevant, because AI is already in education. You know, AI is driving some aspects of education, but at the same time, we have to understand that, and I think we all are aware of that AI cannot replace a teacher. AI can be an effective assistant to the teacher. AI can help teachers to save time and kind of, help them avoid the routine activities that teachers can have to do sometimes. Always. You mentioned different sections where AI is very relevant, but also I would also mention school management system, where less, let's say, where more technical part is important, like attendance. Also, what I love AI would be able to do is that they can help identify the potential dropouts of students based on the analysis of the performance indicators, attendance indicators, parents' involvement. So if it's always, of course, on the LMS is integrated with artificial intelligence, it can help a lot. And again, pedagogy has existed for so many years without AI. Pedagogy can survive without AI. But AI cannot work without pedagogy, and it's the same for education technologies as well. Education technologies not being supported by proper pedagogical approach cannot help. But if it is backed up with pedagogy, with science, with theory of learning, so it can make, it's the whole revolution in education with AI. And yes, the role of AI is to support teacher, but not to replace teacher. Maybe sometime it can replace a teacher, but again, there is a problem of socio-emotional learning. It is also about the teachers and the students' well-being, so it's about human interaction. So far, I don't see any chance that AI can replace human interaction, but yet, who knows what happens in the future. But of course, again, coming back to the question, is AI relevant in education? Of course, yes, it is already something we cannot ignore. Like ignoring AI would be a big mistake, which will make us lag behind even more. So, talking about the effectiveness, yes, but it's not only it's not only ineffective if we ignore this, but it is also impossible to ignore AI as all the application technologies. So maybe some other comments can pop up in the audience, but this is something that I was going to say. Thank you.
Wonderful. These are such a great reflections. I really, really appreciate. Is there any other reaction or idea? Could be a question. Okay, I see a hand at the end.
Yes? Oh, okay. So, my name is Moshista and I'm the head of international collaboration at the Institute in Informatika, which was mentioned by the Deputy Minister of Preschool and School Education, So, the Institute itself trains teachers and managers, school supervisors, if I'm not mistaken. And I would like to stop to the second question. What should the role of education institutions be in this position? So in relevance with AI especially. So I have made a couple of notes, and the first I would like to mention equip students with AI literacy. So number one would be not only talking about teachers, but also teachers should be able to equip their students with AI literacy, how to use it correctly. And number two is about integrate AI across curricula. So school teachers need to be able to align and to be able to use it with the curriculum development as well, and promote ethical and responsible AI use. In the introductory part, there was mentioned that ethical part is crucial, and I would like to stress out this point as well once again. Number four would be to develop soft skills that AI cannot replicate. So, reduce the digital divide, foster lifelong learning, and encouraging innovation into interdisciplinary research would be also in this regard too. So these are my notes that I made so far, and I think that this should be, fit exactly the second question. So this is it, how far I understood it. As a teacher teaching at university, I'm using AI so widely in my daily life, and as Ms. Qituvchilari mentioned in the curriculum assessment, how to work with, how to be able to masterly using the stage elements after. So this is really interesting, and I found out a lot of information here. So thank you.
Wonderful. Excellent comments, and I highly appreciate. I want to start with the idea of the literacy, which I think is very important. What the studies are showing us is when educators have low level of AI literacy, there are two patterns. One is they are completely afraid, or they're completely afraid because they feel that this can replace them. This is people who don't understand this technology. And the other trend is they think that this technology is magic, that will do everything, right? So this is when there's low level of understanding of this technology. When people get a training, when people get familiarized with this tool, when they incorporate it into their practice, they understand that one, there's nothing to be feared, nothing to be afraid of, because these technologies don't have the social emotional competence, don't have empathy, don't have common sense, which are critical elements when we are teaching humans, right? So I think these two trends, the excitement and the fear, is a clear sign that we have to work hard to develop these new capacities. And I think that's something that is really important to take into account. Now, the other element which I think is important is this idea between automation and augmentation. Automation means doing the same in a repetitive way that we can save time. For instance, if we have to translate something, if we already have domain of a second language, we have to translate something, it's going to be a repetitive task. It's not going to add value, right? But if we have, for instance, the option to create a chatbot, the one or an avatar as the one that we saw in Zoom, and we can use it to help teachers to explain them how to develop AI literacy, and you can ask specific questions that are relevant for you, then we are augmenting the capacities of the teachers. And I think having that distinction in place is going to be very, very important. But something that I think is essential is, and I think it's fair to say, I'm the first one to think that AI will not replace humans. But also, I believe that's important to say that it might redefine the role of what it means to teach. Does it make sense? So, it's not that people will be unemployed, but it's expected that our task will be different because people can get exposed to alternative ways of getting information, and we can provide the guidance, the assurance, the encouraging the critical thinking that these systems might not. So I think that's a fair question to do. Thinking in the teaching profession and think what activities and tasks can be automated. One, we don't want to automate. And then think how this could redefine the role of the teacher. In many countries, they are discussing how this thing is to be integrated in the pre-service training to prepare the future teachers to teach with these tools, but also from a critical manner. And here, I think, applies the concept of the mask in the airplanes. Have you seen when you start going on an airplane, they say you have to put the mask first before the person who is beside you? Well, here's applied the same. It's very difficult to teach with AI or to expect that our students have literacy in AI if we don't have the basic understanding. And I don't mean the technical skills. I mean the thinking skills, the critical thinking capacities. This is something that we can certainly transfer to our students. And the final discussion about the curriculum, which I think is very, very important, and thank you for bringing that. One, we will have in the afternoon another discussion how different institutions are bringing that into the curriculum. And I see more and more understanding AI not as a discipline or as a subject, but something cross-curricular, as a proficiency that has to be present in any topic. Okay? Now, one distinction is to learn about AI, which is what we are doing today. We are learning about AI. But the other one that I hope you will have time to do is learning with AI, right? So we bring AI in whatever subject we are teaching. And I think having these two dimensions and understand what and how is going to be the big opportunity behind. Do we have more comments? So an activity has to be more practical. This is going to be more practical. I will be talking less and you will be talking more. That's good for me. So let me explain you how this activity will be. We will be working in small groups between 3 and 5. You choose whom you want to work with. And I will encourage you to take one of these boards here, and I will ask you 2 things. This is the first one. The first activity will be to explore, out of all the tools that I share with you, you should select 1, 2, or more, but with 2 is okay. And to think with your colleagues in an activity. It could be a lesson, a strategy that can be relevant for the curriculum, it could be relevant for an assessment, or elaborating a learning resource. So I will ask you, based on your expertise, to select a tool of the ones that we explore, and you put here some ideas on that, okay? We will have little time to do that, 15 minutes or so, okay? That's gonna be the first part of the activity, and then I will explain you the second one. So I will ask you to stand up, to choose your colleagues, 3, 5 colleagues, pick up one of those boards and write, based on the tools that we have seen today, how do you think these tools can help you to do an activity? If you are an educator, you can think in a teaching activity. If you work in training, you can think in a training activity. If you are an administrator, you can think in a data management. So pick up one board, choose colleagues, 3, 5 colleagues, and help me with this activity. We are going to have only 15 minutes to do this, so it has to be...
Mana allaqachon ko'rgan bo'ldinglar, mana hozir yana bor xulosa qilib eslatayotgan bo'layapmiz. Ya'ni taqdimot qilayotganingizda, masalan, siz mana shu barcha chat GPTning beradigan xulosalardan foydalanishingiz mumkin. Mumkin bu taqdimotlar sizlarga keyin bo'lishiladi. Albatta, keyinchalik bu demak shunday vositaki u dinamik hisobotlarni ishlab chiqishga yordam beradi. Keyin deep research deb nomlanadigan instrument bor. Bu vosita yanada chuqur batafsil tahlillar o'tkazishga imkoniyatini beradi. Bu kichik bir tezislarni ishlab chiqishga yordam beradiki, ya'ni o'sha bu go'yoki qandaydir bir 3-5 kun mutaxassis vaqtini sarf etadigan ishga bir 30 daqiqaning ichida bu dastur hal qilib beradi. Shu masalan perplexity deyiladigan dastur bor, bu ham bo'lsa yangi Google deyiladi. Bu deyishadi odamlar buni. Ya'ni bu ma'lumotlar qaysi manbadan olinganligini ro'yxatini ham sizga qilib beradi. Perplexity vositasi, instrumenti bizga chuqurroq tahlil o'tkazish imkoniyatini ham beradi, tadqiqot o'tkazishni. Yoki biz Gemini'dan foydalanamiz. Bu Google vositasi, to'g'rimi? Bu hisobotlarni ishlab chiqishga juda ham yordam beradigan ajoyib vosita. Bu yerda bir ikkita namunalar ham keltirilgan. Mani hech kim eshitmayapti shekilli, lekin bu degani hamma ishlashga kirishib ketishdi degani, baraka topinglar. Bo'ldi, rahmat. Demak, bu yerda mana avatar bor, bu yerda inson bilan inson avatari degan tushuncha bor. Ya'ni inson avatariga yoki avatar insonga degani. Yoki avatar bilan suhbatlashish. Bu yerda qiziqarli jihat shunday iboratki, bu xulosa qilib beradi. Matnni, ya'ni bizga deep research qilib bergan ishni matnga aylantirib beradi. Ya'ni allaqachon bu narsani saralab ma'lumotlarga ishlov beradi. Va bu yerda boshqa namunalar ham bor. Bu inson avatar bilan suhbatlashish, ya'ni avatar bo'ladida va siz bilan suhbatga kirishasiz. Va bu o'quvchilarga yordam bera oladi, talabalarga yoki o'qituvchilarga yoki pedagoglarga yordam bera oladi, qo'shimcha yordam berish uchun. Va biz avatarni o'qitishimiz mumkin, aytish, ishlatish biz xohlaganimizcha ishlab olamiz uni. Va biz yana boshqa instrumentlar bor. U inson avatar bilan suhbatlashishi degani, lekin bunda biz boshqa tildan foydalanamiz. Men rus tilida gapirmayman, lekin mana rus tilini eshitishingiz mumkin. Siz uni tarjima qilishingiz mumkin. Siz mana shu boshqa tildagi o'quv metodik ma'lumotlarni boshqa tilga, o'zbek tiliga masalan siz tatbiq etishingiz mumkin. Bu narsani yana bir kuchli bir vosita, bu ham bo'lsa Magic School deyiladi. Bu darslarni rejalashtirishga, yaxshilash, bu sinf darslarida darslarni to'g'ri taqsimlashga, baholash ishlarini o'tkazishga, hisobotlarni yaratishga yordam beradi. Bu o'qituvchini ishini takomillashtirishga, ya'ni osonlashtirishga yordam beradi. Bu o'qituvchi uchun juda ham bir kuchli vosita. Ta'lim jarayonlarini muvofiqlashtirishga yordam beradi o'qituvchi sifatida. Biz bularni ham ko'rdik. Bu shunday vositaki, bu aytilgan so'zlarni matnga ko'chirib beradi. Bu narsani stadifich deyiladi. Ya'ni dars o'tkazilganda sinfda o'qituvchi dars o'tirar ekan, mavzu o'qiydi deylik. Siz u narsani qayd etib yozib olib, uni matnga o'zgartirishingiz mumkin va bu matn bemalol o'sha tadqiqot bayonlariga ko'chirilishi mumkin yoki bo'lmasa o'qituvchining o'sha matnini biz so'zga o'zgartirish mumkin. Ya'ni bu foydali ma'lumotga ora-sira bemalol doimiy ravishda murojaat qila olish imkoniyati bo'ladi. Bu narsa yodingizda bu avtomatlashtirish. Ya'ni imtihonlarni qayta ko'rib chiqish, agarda sizda masalan test imtihonlari bo'lsa, uni tezroq o'tkazish mumkin. Xuddi rasmda ko'rsatilayotgandek, o'sha bir qancha variantlardan iborat savollarni joylashtirib. Mana shu instrumentlarni biz sizlarga namoyish etgan bo'ldik. Shularni hozir yana bir bor eslatdilar. Endi savollarni ekranga namoyish etadilar. Vaqtimiz ketyapti. Uzr so'rayman tez gapirayotganligimizga. Savol.
Biz presentation ayini tanlab oldik. Gammapdan ham foydalanamiz biz, lekin qaradik, qo'shnimiz bular yozayotgan ekan, shuning uchun biz presentation ayini oldik. Ya'ni o'qituvchilarni uzluksiz kasbiy rivojlantirishda sun'iy intellekt imkoniyatlarini biz o'rgatamiz. Aynan presentation ayi, undan keyin gamma va boshqa vositalar bor. Ulardan ham o'quv materiallarini tayyorlashda ularga yo'l yo'riqlarni ko'rsatamiz. Aynan presentation ayi buni imkoniyatlari, ya'ni darsda taqdimotlarni yaratish va o'sha o'quv materiallarini tayyorlash. Shu bilan birga aynan bulardan foydalanganda darslar qiziqarli bo'ladi. O'quvchilarga mavzularni tushuntirish qulayligi va aynan vaqti tejagan holda mana shu materiallarni tayyorlash imkoniyatiga ega bo'lishadi. Va har bir darsda o'qituvchi o'zini ya'ni materiali bilan, taqdimoti bilan darslarni olib borish imkoniyatiga ega bo'ladi. Rahmat.
Rahmat. Siz ham bu narsani o'qituvchilarni maktablarda keng ko'lamda ishlatishda qanday muammolar bor deb o'ylaysiz? Hamma narsa sharoitiga bormi? O'qituvchilar hozirgi paytda qanchasi shu darslarni kiritib kelmoqda?
Muammolarni ko'radigan bo'lsak, ular ko'proq mana shu sun'iy intellekt imkoniyatlaridan foydalanishda, ya'ni profil, Google akkauntlar bilan kirish yoki o'zlariga profil ochish, mana shu holatlarda qiyinchiliklarga ko'ryapmiz. Albatta ularga yo'l yo'riqlar ko'rsatyapmiz. Chunki sun'iy intellekt imkoniyatlaridan foydalanganda albatta ro'yxatdan o'tish kerak yoki qanaqadir Google, Microsoft yoki Apple bilan kirib foydalanish kerak. Shu holatlarda muammolarni ko'ryapmiz va bular bo'yicha ularga tavsiyalar berib o'tyapmiz.
Rahmat katta.
Sog' bo'ling.
So next team keyingi.
Ayol sorry, bitta narsa aytib ketay. Dokladchi o'qituvchilar o'rganishga xohlamaydi, o'z ish o'rnini yo'qotib qo'yadi, qo'rqadi degan fikrlarni bildirdi, lekin O'zbekistonda emas, biz malaka oshirishda ishlaymiz. Hammasiga sun'iy texnologiyalarni tushuntirsak, shunchalik chanqoqlik bilan o'rganyapti. Ular shunchalik o'zini darslariga shuni qo'llashda tarafdori, lekin unaqa qo'rqish degan narsa yo'q.
Juda ham xursand. Hozircha
kasbni yo'qotish bo'yicha qo'rqmaydi. Umumiy muammo.
Juda ham katta yutuq deb hisoblaymiz bu narsani.
Assalomu alaykum ishtirokchilar. Bizani guruhga ikkita asosiy maqsad qo'yildi deb aytilgani uchun, birinchisi DeepSeek. Bu hozirgi искусственный intellekt Xitoy tomonidan yaratilgan versiyasi. ChatGPT bilan taqqoslash. Qanaqa farqlari bor? Qaysi tarafdan DeepSeek ustun yoki ChatGPT bir-birini taqqoslash? Tanqidiy fikrlashni o'rganishni bilish kerak. Bir xil zapros berib ko'rish kerak ikkalasiga. Qaysi biri qanaqa javob beradi? Qaysi birida ustunlik bor yoki qaysi tarafida minus taraflari bor? Chunki bu DeepSeek ChatGPT dan keyin chiqqan versiya bo'lgani uchun bizda savol tug'ildi, nimaga bugungi seminarda DeepSeek tilga olinmadi? Nimaga? Chunki u Xitoyda yaratilganligi uchunmi yoki hamma hozir ChatGPT da ishlayotgani uchunmi? O'shani bilish uchun biz taqqoslab tushuntirib bering deb aytdik. Ikkinchi mavzuimiz common to avatar. Avatarda bolalarga qanaqa yetkazib berish? Chunki o'qituvchi chiroyli bir hozir bu yerda ham ko'rsatilgan anaqada ko'rdik, prezentatsiyada chiroyli qiz o'tirib gapiryapti. Bu bolalarga ko'proq motivatsiya qilib berishi mumkin, tezroq yetkazib berishi mumkin chiroyli avatar orqali. O'shaning uchun biz qanaqa foydalanishimiz mumkin o'qituvchilar o'zimizning darsimizda bu texnologiyadan foydalanib. Chunki hamma ham chiroyli o'qituvchi bo'lmaydi-ku, anaqa tashqi ko'rinishida. O'shaning uchun shu ma'noda
разнообразие deydi-ku, чтобы odam bitta o'qituvchiga o'rganib qolmaslik sifatida ham ko'rsatishsa bo'ladi.
Har xil temada har xil avatar foydalansa, menimcha qiziqroq bo'lsa kerak deb o'ylaymiz. O'shaning uchun shu ikkita asosiy anaqani tanlab oldik.
Rahmat katta.
That was great, and the reason to put my face, can you hear me? The reason for putting my face in the avatar.
Avatarga yuzimni qo'yishning sababi iyiga uncha chiroyli bo'lmagan inson gapirganini ko'rsatishmoqchi bo'ldim.
The thing is, can you hear me? No, I was responding the joke saying if I put my face talking.
Ya'ni hazil aytayotgan edim. Ya'ni o'zim yuzimni qo'ysam, shunga uncha chiroyli emas odamni misoli bo'lganda bo'lsin. Bu yerda muhimi DeepSeek juda ham muhim vosita. Lekin juda ham ko'plariga vaqt yetmadi aslida. Ularni taqqoslab chiqsa ham o'zi bir qiziq. Chunki bu bitta narsaki, bular faqatgina vosita, ya'ni inson o'z masalalarini yo'qotib qo'ymasligi kerak.
Keyingi guruh.
foydalaniladi. Bundan tashqari taqdimotlar, matnlarni vizualizatsiya qilishga yordam beradi. Bundan tashqari hisobotlarni tayyorlashda ko'makchi sifatida foydalaniladi. Bundan tashqari ChatGPT o'sha matn va tasvirlarni uyg'unlashtirishda, testlar tuzishda qatorlab davom ettirish mumkin. Eng muhimi ilmiy ma'lumotlarni tahlil qilishda, ma'lumotlar uchun tayyor manbani foydalanishda emas, u olingan ma'lumotlarni tahlil qilishda yordam beradi. Masalan, oddiy jadval ko'rinishidagi matnlarni taqdim qiladigan bo'lsak, o'shandagi ma'lumotlarni qiyosiy tahlil qilishga yordam beradi. Ya'ni inson qisqa vaqtni ichida ulgurmaydigan ma'lumotlarni topishga yordam beradi. Faqat bitta narsani biz doim professor o'qituvchi sifatida talabalarga aytamiz. Bu narsaga suyanib qolmanglar. Ya'ni ChatGPT sizlarni boshqarmasin. Sizlar ChatGPTni, ya'ni boshqaringlar. Sizlarni manfaatinglar yo'lida xizmat qilsin deb aytamiz. Ya'ni foydalanayotganinglarda albatta sizlar bazaga murojaat qilinglar. Chunki u sekundlar mobaynida bir necha bazadan ma'lumot to'plab beradi. Ya'ni adabiyotlar bilan ishlash, ilmiy asoslar bilan ishlashga urg'u bergan holda albatta bu imkoniyatlardan ham biz foydalanamiz. Albatta mehnatini o'qituvchini yengillashtirish maqsadida. Rahmat.
Rahmat katta. Va bizda hozir oxirgi prezentatsiyamiz. Aynan sun'iy intellektni administrativ, demak, ta'limni boshqarish sohasida qanday ishlatish mumkin haqida Abdulvasiy sizdan eshitamiz.
Good morning, teachers. I don't know if it's the correct answer for the.
Endi berilgan vazifaga to'g'ri javob bo'lib bilmadim. Men maktabgacha ta'lim va maktab ta'lim vazirligining institutsiya boshqarmasidanman. Albatta biz ham sun'iy intellektdan foydalanamiz ishimiz davomida. Avvalambor ma'lumotlarni tahlil qilish uchun ma'lumotlar bizda ko'p va ularni tahlil qilishimiz kerak, ma'lumot qarorlar qabul qilishimiz kerak va shuning uchun ChatGPTdan foydalanish kerak. Barcha hamkasblarim ChatGPTdan foydalanadi. Ikkinchisi ChatGPTdan foydalanamiz. Hamda boshqa sun'iy intellekt vositalaridan ham o'sha prezentatsiya tayyorlash uchun albatta ma'lumotlarni tahlil qilgandan keyin prezentatsiya tayyorlaymiz. Bu juda ham rasmlar yaratish uchun ham so'rov yuborsak, bu ham foydali. ChatGPT ham binolarning rasmlarini yoki boshqa joylarning rasmlarini qo'shib qo'ya oladi va oddiygina shunda bizning taqdimotimizga shu osonlik bilan kirita olamiz. ChatGPTni loyihani boshqarish uchun foydalanamiz. Loyihalar bizda ko'p. Ham ko'p ma'lumot va xabarlar turli hamkasblardan kelib turadi. Masalan, o'zim papkalar yarataman-da va shu papkalarda ishlaganda ChatGPT meni ishlaydi va to'g'ri javoblarni beradi. Va u men tushadi, men uni tushunib to'g'ri so'rovlarni tuzishga harakat qilaman.
Big data from
Bundan tashqari vazirlikdan butun mamlakatdan to'plangan ma'lumot bor. Maktablar to'g'risida, qurilish, o'quvchilar baholari haqidagi ma'lumot va bularni hozir sun'iy intellekt vositalarini bu platformalarga kiritib bormoqdamiz. Qaror qabul qilish uchun ma'lumotlarni soddalashtirishga, shu jumladan va sun'iy intellekt vositalaridan foydalanishni hukumat davlat xizmatlarini amalga oshirish uchun ham foydalanishni boshladik. Ya'ni 30 dan oshiq hukumat xizmatlari mavjud, vazirlik orqali beriladigan. Va inson omilini chiqarib tashlash uchun sun'iy intellektdan foydalanamiz. Bu bizga qaror qabul qilishga yoki boshqa bir fuqarolar uchun boshqa variantlarni osonroq va tezroq yetkazishga yordam beradi. Rahmat. Juda ham zo'r.
I think you understood perfectly there.
Menimcha mashqni juda ham yaxshi tushundinglar. Hammaga katta rahmat. Juda ham mana mazmunli muhokama bo'ldi. Ko'p narsa o'rganib bo'ldi deb o'ylayman. Ya'ni bu suhbatimiz davom etishi kerak va bizning hamjamiyatlarimizda bu masalalardan ko'proq o'rganishimiz kerak va ular qanday holatlarda foydali ekanligini bilishimiz kerak. Va o'zingizlarga aytib o'tganingiz tanqidiy fikrlar juda ham muhim. Va bu qanday foydali ekanligini bilishim. Men sizlarga uy vazifa berishim istadim. Ya'ni hozir ekranga qarasak bo'ladi. Demak, uy vazifamizni hozir bajarmaymiz. Sizlarni iltimos qilib qolaman. Ya'ni mana bu yerda ham ko'rishingiz mumkin. Mening taklifim ofisga qaytganimizda boshqa hamkasblar bilan muhokama qilaylik. Qanday yana malakalarni yaratishimiz kerak o'qituvchilarga yoki ma'muriyatchilarga. Ya'ni buni muntazam faoliyatga o'tkazish uchun qanday yordam kerak? Qanday o'qituvchilar bu shu vositadan foydalanishni o'rganishi mumkin? Qanday qo'shimcha yordam kerak bo'ladi? Ya'ni bu narsani aniqlagan bo'lsak, bizni shu yerdan olib hamjamiyatlarimizga tushsa bo'ladi. Ya'ni bu rasmga olishingiz mumkin yoki material ham beriladi.
Bugun kelibda shunchalik qatnashganingizdan minnatdormiz. Keyingi paytda uchrashguncha xayr. Rahmat katta.